Piece fans? It's Chris Bost, and I'm coming in with an episode reaction and review for this week's episode 1153, The Upheaval of an Era, the color of the supreme king that leads Luffy. Now, before I do get into the content, do make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn on the post notifications, and most importantly, leave a comment on the video, whether positive or negative. I love your guys' comments, and if it's negative, I sometimes do respond back, just as long as you keep it civil. So this episode actually starts off with a really great recap of the attack from Luffy and Bonnie on one Saturn, and that's one way to really go ahead and open up this episode. And then we just go right here where Vegapunk basically says he believes in the wisdom, the science, and the ingenuity of human beings, and that they will all rise above to ultimately go ahead and take on the mantle of that Goldie Roger had set out when he died that one summerless day on the platform. And they just said about One Piece. He basically confirmed that One Piece does exist, and that is going to be the start of a new era to find out the ultimate truth of what has happened to the Void Century and why the world is starting to sink into the sea. All kinds of things, why the Celestial Dragons and the world government does not want anyone to discover the secret of the past. The chase is still on. You saw that the robot Emmet is still fighting the Gorosei, and we got the Thousand Sunny that's making it to escape right here. A funny scene where both Chopper and Usopp are crying. We're gonna crash and die. We see that Bakotsu, this Judo in his Bakotsu form is still chasing down the Thousand Sunny, because no one is meant to escape this island. But things always does not go the way that it's intended, and we'll get more into that here. You see right here, this is the pivotal scene that pretty much set off the entirety of the One Piece universe. That scene of Goldie Roger, at the time we just knew him as Gold Roger, but now we know that it's actually Goldie Roger because he's one of the D's, and that just set off the entirety of the chase for One Piece. Some people didn't believe that it existed. Others, like Luffy, certainly believed it did. But once again, we have Vegapunk that has absolutely confirmed that it exists, and now we're seeing a whole plethora of people that are starting to make their move. Of course, actually getting this kind of information in such a very illustrious fashion has not sat well with a lot of people. You saw how Rayleigh was just drunk. We're getting ready to see right here one of the main players going into the final part of One Piece. Red-haired Shanks, he's going to be drunk off his butt because that wasn't the way that he wanted that information revealed. I'm assuming that he was part of Goldie Roger's crew along with another player, Emperor Buggy. So I am thinking that they all know the truth about One Piece. They've always known the truth about One Piece. You see right here, let me go back and just let this part play out a little bit. You see there's a drunk red-haired Shanks. That information has gotten out, and now it probably makes more sense why the two great warlords, Crocodile and Hawkeye Mihawk, have attached themselves to Buggy, because Buggy probably knows a thing or two about One Piece. So they're wagging it to him. That's just speculation on my part, but all this stuff is going to be revealed over time, so it'll be interesting. This guy really does not deserve all the loyalty that he's coming to him. We got the Navy headquarters. The Navy does not want the pirates to get a hold of it, and in his own perverse kind of way, Akainu says, hey, that is true, but we still have to protect the civilians against the pirates who are out there going and they're trying to get it. And then we're going to come over here and see that another big player in all this is going to be Emu. So all these guys right here that they're showing are all big players. There's the Navy, Dragon, the Emu, all them just showing right there. They're all going to become big players in the hunt for One Piece. And then we come back to the title scene, and that's now. Let me go ahead and say this as an offside. Usually the title of One Piece is done way at the beginning of the episode, but you notice how there was the recap and there was a lot of key pivotal information that was given. I gave a review of One Punch Man episode 10, and they tried doing a similar type of thing where they would just get right into the episode and then do things kind of differently. You only can do that when you have built up the credibility with your audience in order to do things like this. One Punch Man season 3 has not done that, but One Piece definitely has done that. So it can afford to do things like this where you're almost 10 minutes into the episode and now they come up with the title screen. They built up that credibility. So just an aside on that here. And of course the fallout is going to reverberate for quite some time. You see right there, somebody said that One Piece truly exists. We're down here in Impel Down. We're looking at some of the prisoners. That broadcast went out to everybody. There was no way that anyone could stop that broadcast. So everybody got to see it. And then that was the design of Vegapunk. He wanted everybody to go ahead and see this broadcast. We're going to see right here, Koby, who was the first to hear about Luffy's dream about wanting to become the king of the pirates and seeking the One Piece. He knows that now that he is part of the Navy, he has to stop that dream from coming true. And of course, he is just a Navy dog at this point, but that was his dream. His dream was to become a Navy dog and to serve the Navy because he wanted to help people. Well, now this is going to put them on a crash course, and both men knew at the time when they both told each other their dreams that they're going to be on a collision course that will be unavoidable by fate. So now Koby understands what his mission is, and Luffy is he definitely has his sights still set on becoming the king of the pirates, which we're going to see here in just a minute. Get more of the Buggy scene right there, talking about this is going to be our dream. It's not just my dream, it's all of our dream. It's the world that we are going to create. And of course, that's his gullible audience think that's something very noble of him to say. However, we all know that he has Crocodile and Mihawk in the back, and that's really why he said that. Because he know that Crocodile and Mihawk ain't playing with him. So Crocodile invites him to come over and sit down because they're the true leaders of the Buggy crew. And but we still see that Emmett is still fighting against the Gorosei, and this time they are finally successful in stopping it. Vegapunk was going to say something about who Joy Boy is, but or who his successor, who we don't know, his successor, whoever that is, he was going to tell the truth about that. But Fingshi has finally succeeded in stopping Emmett from broadcasting that message out. That transponder cell is finally destroyed. You're going to go through several scenes where all the broadcast has been ended. Now, I don't understand why they had to do all that. To show multiple scenes while the broadcast is died. We get the picture. We saw that beforehand that the broadcast has been ended. So those other additional scenes were not necessary in my view. Now we see Saturn. He's putting himself all back together, and there's no way that they're going to be able to stop that. And we're going to have this interesting scene right here that's going to be happening between Emmett and Luffy. Emmett realizes that this is not Joy Boy. He says that he looks so much like him, and we kind of figured that was the case, that Joy Boy, or rather Luffy, is the reincarnation of Joy Boy somehow. I wonder if that's because of the fruit. Oh, it'll be kind of interesting when Eijiro ties all this back up here. He's going to just tell him the last day that he saw him when he was on that island. And we're going to get to here in just a minute as well. I keep saying that, but we definitely will. But this is where Emmett erupts the most powerful. First of all, we see that he is going to introduce himself because Emmett is going to ask him his name. Namae wa? Monkey D. Luffy! And with with that, that's the introduction that Emmett gets. He understands what he has to do now, and now this is where he's going to erupt the most powerful color of the Supreme King Haki that has ever been emitted in all of One Piece. And this is just a testament to the power of this Haki. Spoiler, this is Joy Boy's power. You see how it's just emitting right here. Luffy is even spellbound by the emission of this Haki. We see that Blueberry has been knocked out. Several vice admirals are getting knocked out. But the true power of this is that it immediately reverses the transformation of the Gorosei. You see, even they couldn't stand against this power. They instantly get transported back to Marie Joy, all defeated, but it really hurts Emu because Emu recognizes who this belongs to. Someone comes up to check in on him and he says, Joy Boy. That was the color of the Supreme King Haki from Joy Boy. It's so powerful that it impacts even stronger characters than Luffy. Will Luffy's Haki get that powerful? Remember that scene way back when he finally understood the power that he had and he took out half of that raiding Fishman army and Fishman Island arc? Will he be able to get to the point where he will be able to impact the Gorosei themselves, which would be real interesting? And finally, we were at the end where all the Straw Hats are finally back together. Nami tells Sanji, it's kind of interesting that Sanji, that's the only one he asked for. Nami-san, are you all right? And Nami says, yes, we are all right. We are okay. But then we have this last touching scene between Emmett as he's dying off. He has his final remembrance of looking at Joy Boy. And Joy Boy tells him, only when the time is right are you to use my color of the Supreme King Haki. And that he did that because Emmett realized that Luffy cannot die. Luffy is going to be one of the big key players towards the end of all of this. And he used it at the right time and the right place to save Luffy. Because truthfully, even though Luffy is in Gear 5, he's still not strong enough to take on all those Gorosei. He would eventually been killed, and we couldn't have that because the series is called One Piece, and he's the protagonist, so we need him to survive. This ain't Game of Thrones where every protagonist that you form a bond with is summarily killed off. No, we need Luffy to continue living until the very end of this story. And this is pretty much the very end of this episode. We have 2 episodes remaining until the big giant hiatus, and then everything just changes around. Let's go ahead and get to the preview. Here's the preview for the next week's episode. Now, personally, I don't know if I think I agree with what the Toei and Eiichiro Oda is doing here. Sometimes some things within a story should just have a little bit of mystery attached to them. But instead, what we're going to go ahead and do with the next episode, as you can read right there, the truth behind the secret plan, Vegapunk claims victory. We're going to go ahead and explore how Vegapunk was able to go about putting all these moves in motion, including putting out that transponder snail to go ahead and distribute that message to the world. I would have preferred for this to just stay a mystery and just leave it at that. We don't need to have this part explored. But again, when it comes to Eiichiro Oda, he does like to go ahead and try to put an explanation to pretty much everything that happens within the One Piece world. But me personally, I'd have just left it a mystery. But those are just disagreements on that. And Eiichiro Oda is the world-class storyteller. I'm just some chump with a microphone at the moment. Overall, this episode was pretty good. It's finally given us closure to the Egghead Island arc. And we had a lot of ups and downs. We had a lot of trials, tribulations, tension, world building, action sequences, a lot of joyful moments, a lot of tearful moments. And this episode sort of wraps it up in a nice bow. There are some things that I would have done differently, but overall, it was a pretty good episode. I'm going to give this episode an 8 out of 10. So what are your guys' thoughts about this episode? Did you guys enjoy this episode? What are your thoughts overall? Jump down in the comments and let me know what you think. And make sure you do like, share, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. All that stuff really does help me out. And remember, this is Chris Bost signing off, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take it easy.